Mrs. Dorrie Flatman, a hairdresser, left Liverpool in 1963 and came to Australia with 3 daughters and £45. She's lived here in Perth for the last 20 years and, with ambition and tenacity, is certainly a pom who's made good, if that's the word. She's now almost a pillar of the West Australian establishment. Well known around town, Mrs. Flatman runs 3 flourishing businesses, dresses expensively at Louis Ferreau, has her hair done 3 times a week, and, despite 8 grandchildren, married an accountant who's 21 years younger indeed than her daughters. They're quite prominent on the Perth social scene, attending fashion shows, giving to charity, appearing in the gossip columns.
It's a 12, that would fit you.
In Liverpool, she'd lived in a small terraced house in Lilac Road, Kirby. But today, her home's a £400,000 villa on a posh Perth estate, where she's suitably modest about her financial achievements. Dorrie. Good morning. I work out that you must be one of the most affluent women in Australia.
I don't think so.
But, I mean, if your girls can pick up $2,000 a week, that's $2,000 for you, and you've got between 25 and 45 working for you, and they're working 52 weeks a year, I reckon that you must be picking up about $3.5 million a year.
No, I don't think so. That $2,000 a week, that might only be one girl out of the 25 that would earn that kind of money. And the girls don't work 7 days a week. Some work 3 days a week, some 2. The most they will work is 6.
Yes, as you've gathered, Dorrie Flatman is a proper little madam. She runs 3 of Perth's 16 brothels, which, under Western Australia's unusual containment policy, are tolerated by the police. Her main establishment's a neat and carefully anonymous house with 13 bedrooms just outside the city centre. Night and day, behind its half-open front door, Dorrie's cash desk is ready to receive any credit-worthy customer.
3286850.
Oh, hello, that's regarding escort.
Yeah.
Tell me, do any of your girls come outside?
Only if you're in a hotel.
How much would that cost?
$120 an hour plus $10 taxi fee.
And if I come to your place, that comes?
Yes, the price starts from $30 here, and then it goes up accordingly to what you want and how long you want to stay.
Yeah, well, listen, I want to book a girl now, okay?
No, you can just come in. We've got 7 girls on tonight.
Dorrie, presiding over her anthology of prose, must follow certain simple police rules.
Bye.
No underage girls, no drugs, no men involved in the operation, apart, of course, from the clients, who are presented upon arrival with what they call the menu, illustrated, completing the illusion that this is some sort of sanitized restaurant. The rooms upstairs complete the illusion, for they were all furnished by the interior decorator who designed one of Perth's luxury hotels. When Dorrie arrived in Australia 25 years ago, she first took a job selling door-to-door.
While I was working, I saw an ad in the paper for a masseuse. So I went after the job as a masseuse. And when I got there, it was I nearly died because it was all young girls and I didn't have a clue. I thought a masseuse, you know, was just a masseuse.
But, I mean, a massage parlour was just a euphemism for a brothel, wasn't it? Did you know what you were...
No, I didn't. I didn't know at that stage.
But, Dorrie, you're a very sharp lady. Are you going to tell me you were running a massage parlour and you didn't know what was going on?
No, because nobody had ever said anything. And I was sitting there, and the only way I found out was one of the girls were off, and we were short-staffed, And somebody come in for a massage, so I went in to do the massage. And then when I told him to have a shower, he said, what about the rest? So I went straight out and got one of the girls. I said, what's the rest? And she told me. So I said, oh, well, will you look after him? She said, yes. When I come out, I said, why didn't you tell me? She said, I thought you'd freak. She said, I thought you'd sacked a lot of us. I said, no. I said, I've been chasing people when they were asking funny things on the phone. I said, I've been turning business away.
You gotta...
I'd say 95% of prostitutes are very soft-hearted. A lot of them are single mothers, deserted housewives.
I don't really believe that all the whores have got golden hearts, to be honest. I think a lot of them are lazy, venal little girls who are shiftless and don't want to work.
Some are. Some come to this business because they think, oh, I can't be bothered doing a normal job. But others behave for a purpose, you know.
What sort of girls do you prefer?
I like the single mothers because they've got a purpose to work and they're reliable.
What are you looking for in them?
Personality. Looks don't really matter as long as the personality's there.
Looks don't matter?
Looks don't matter.
I would have thought the men who are coming in here would have gone for the pretty girls each time.
No, I find you can have a real stunning-looking girl and you'll have a homely girl, and you'll find the homely girl will be the better earner.
Because she's non-threatening, is that it?
I think the men that come in here think that a homely girl will do more for them than the beautiful girl, because the beautiful girl could possibly be just in love with herself.
So you're looking for a homely girl. Do you tell them what to wear when we come in, incidentally?
Well, I tell them no jeans, no slacks, to wear what brings out the best in them. If then they still don't look right, I'll suggest something, or I'll go and get something for
Well, these
them.
girls who are dashing backwards and forwards, they all seem to be in some sort of bathing
Lingerie.
costume. Yes.
Lingerie or bathers.
Slowly.
So if some of these girls can take home $100,000 a year, you can well understand why they don't want to be secretaries.
That's right. But then it's not everybody. You get girls that come into the business and they'll only last 2 days. They can't handle it. It is nerve-wracking because you've got these men, say, just supposing you've got 10 men in one day, trying to please them. Lonely people that's depressed and whatever, and you've got to be mother, lover, wife, you've got to be everything to them.
It could be very distasteful, I think, too.
It can be. It can be.
As you say, it's certainly not everybody's job. How much money is involved?
The minimum is $30. It's $120 for an hour. If they want a bubble spa bath, it's $140 an hour with the girl. That's Danielle. She's still busy. If they want to spend a couple of hours, it goes up and up. And we have had one man spend $1,500 in one night, where he finishes up taking 2 or 3 girls in with him and spending a few hours.
And what sort of percentage do you take off the top?
50%.
And what that's supplying the electricity, the bed, the establishments, the talcum powder.
That's right, yeah.
Now, do you make them pay in advance when they
Yes.
come in at your booking office there?
Yeah.
And if they use their credit cards?
Yeah, they don't pay me at the booking office. What they do, they go up to the room with the girl. She gives them the menu, the list of prices. He decides what he wants, and then she just takes the money and brings it down.
Or he presents his Barclay card.
Yeah.
And what are you registered as?
On the credit card, so it's a bit discreet, we're Mama San Bistro.
Yes.
It looks a bit better, you know, on the receipts. We then put the amount down on the book and the time she goes in the room. We allow so about maybe 5-10 minutes over her time, and anything longer, we've got an intercom and tell her time's up, in case she's having any problem getting out of the room with them.
Do you sometimes have violence or...?
No, sometimes you get a guy carried away and doesn't want to leave the girl. He doesn't want to come out of the room.
Come in number 26 until your time is up. Oh, well, then you just charge him extra, presumably.
Yeah, we tell him if he wants to stay longer, he's got to pay more.
The meter's ticking. Now, sometimes you're very busy here, are you not? I mean, you have, when the fleet's in, you must be...
If the aircraft carriers come in, we are exceptionally busy, and we might only be closed for about an hour before the next shift starts.
So what's been your record attendance?
I would say we've had 10 girls kept non-stop, and I would say that they would have taken between 20 and 30 clients each.
It's 300
yeah.
men.
Yeah.
Now, you must have complaints, I suppose, do you not?
Oh, yeah.
There must be a number of dissatisfied customers.
Yeah, you get your dissatisfied ones. If, after talking to him and the girl, and I think the girl's in the wrong, I'll give the client his money back.
You adjudicate, do you?
Yeah.
And what sort of complaints are you getting?
Well, you'll get a guy that says that the girl was no good, he didn't do anything, he was ripped off with his money, you know, and I'll just ask the girl, you know, well, what in fact did you do? If she says he was too drunk, he couldn't do anything, I say, well, you've had your time. If you were drunk, it's your fault, not the girl's. I'll sack a girl if she swears. I say you can be a prostitute, you can still be a lady. You don't have to use that language, you know. Well, other people might cop it, I won't.
And you don't like jeans either, so...
No. And I find that you don't get trouble in a house if you act like a lady, you talk like a lady, the clients will treat you like a lady. And I think this is why we find that we've got a good house.
It's surprising to me that looks are not important, actually. I mean, a good figure, is that important, or doesn't that matter either?
No, you've got Greeks and Italians like fat girls. They really like fat girls.
But most of your girls are very tall and skinny, it looks
Yeah,
to me.
but one girl that's been working for me for a couple of years has just left, and she was a buxom. We call them buxom, not fat. You get guys ringing up, and they prefer to have a lady that's got big boobs. You've got the Japanese or the Asians, like slim ladies, preferably blonde. We get phone calls for mature ladies. You get guys ringing up asking if we've got 14-year-olds. And I said, they've got to be 21 to work.
How old is a mature lady?
A mature lady could be anything between 40 and 50. There's one place in Perth called Happy Haven. They advertise in the Sunday Times for ladies wanting work 21 to 51. That's in the Sunday Times.
What sort of facilities do you have to provide for your clients?
Some people like a bubble spa bath, which we have. There's not many places got them. There's blue movies. Almost anything a client wants we can supply. Discipline, bondage, fantasies. If a guy wants a girl to dress up as a nurse, we've got the nurses' outfits, school uniforms, any fantasies.
You think by the nature of the job that your girls would not be very reliable?
Some of them aren't. Some of them are. You get somebody like Lola. She's like clockwork.
She's your Indonesian girl?
That's the Indonesian girl.
And the most popular one?
She's very popular, very reliable, and she always lets you know if she's going to take time off. Lola also has another speciality where I advertise Lola's being very naughty and needs spanking, and we get a lot of clientele for that. They like to spank a girl, and it's not many girls like to be spanked.
How does Lola put up with it?
She likes us. She doesn't mind us at all.
Whatever Lola wants, Lola gets. Now, how does your husband feel about your work?
Oh, my husband say, how come you can't do it like that? And I say, I have to because it's no job around, you know, and easier for me to make money. And he said, okay, that's the one you want to do it. That's it.
Now, when you started, you were doing double shifts here.
Yes.
So you're working for 18 hours, 16 hours?
Yes.
16 hours a day?
16 hours, yes.
But that must be very tiring.
Yeah, but my husband not here. That's why I don't stay home lonely.
16 hours?
Yes.
I mean, you know, your poor feet. So you're making a lot of money, but Dorrie tells me that you just bought a house with it.
Yes, yes. That's why we have to pay the house off. Yes, we buy the house, buy a swimming pool. Yes.
Now, how many years do you think you'll be a working girl?
Oh, maybe between 2 or 3 years more, and I stop work.
Of all the men who come in here, who do you like the most?
I like the English.
You're just saying that, aren't you?
No, really, I like the English.
Why is that?
Yeah, they're really nice and gentle.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're really nice and gentle.
And who are the least nice?
I don't really like the, I don't know, just like the English or the, I like the white people anyway.
Hmm.
I don't like Asian men.
Ah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What sort of people are they come here? I mean, do you get businessmen?
They come from all walks of life. The really prominent ones won't come in a brothel. They ring in and have a girl sent out.
But if you're taking their credit cards, you know who they are.
Very well-known people never pay by credit card. They pay cash. It's always the same line. The wife doesn't understand them. Doesn't understand his needs because he needs that something extra.
Yes.
We get pensioners, which sometimes you look at them and they're too old to walk up them stairs, so you let them go into one of the rooms down here. You know, some of them that's been coming for years. You've seen them grow old, you know, it's strange.
Some of your clients are in wheelchairs. You're running a sort of therapeutic clinic here.
Well, there again, a man in a wheelchair would find it very, very hard to get a girlfriend. And they still, even though they're in wheelchairs and they're crippled, they've still got the same functions and the same feelings. So rather than be frustrated, they come in here.
And what about your young clients?
A mother rang up and she said it was going to be our boy's 18th birthday. He had told her he had never been with a girl before. And she thought it would be better if he came here to start him off rather than go and pick somebody up on the street. She asked would that be possible and I said yes. Anyway, she sent him in and he was looked after. She rang up afterwards and thanked us.
Are the girls friendly with each other? You see, I mean, Lola obviously is your star. I would have thought the others would be jealous of her.
No, they all make arrangements and go out together and, you know, they go out to dinner or they'll go dancing together. They stay pally. They go to each other's houses.
And you have parties for their birthdays and that sort of thing?
Yeah. I don't give parties for their birthdays. That's something they work out themselves. I've always made us, twice a year, the girls get a piece of jewellery off me, their birthdays and Christmas.
Oh, it's almost matches the chain you girls gave me. Oh,
clever, clever.
Beautiful. Wow.
Oh, thank you very much. Clever. Now she's put lippy all over me.
I tried, oh no, it was below the blusher.
Instead of a party, they've got something that if they ever leave, they've got something there. One year they'll get a ring, the next year they might get a pendant, then they'll get a bracelet, you know. But it mounts up and they stay with you for a while.
Now, you're a rather high-profile madam. You go out on charity occasions and that sort of thing. When you talk to people, and they ask you what you do, what do you say?
Escort agency.
But everybody knows escort agency is just a euphemism for a brothel these days.
Yeah. They don't object to it.
Oh. Do you appear in the gossip columns in Perth?
I have on quite a few occasions.
You never seem to want my romancing. The only time you hold me is when we're dancing. I don't know why I love you like I do.
Dorrie, with daughter Mary, who's recovering from a facelift, makes another elegant appearance for charity upon the Perth social scene.
Right, the winning ticket number is number 96. And it's Ross Haswell, Unit 1, Pierce Street, Perth.
Their sexual revolution began around 1961 with the pill, and the wild binge only ended with the arrival of AIDS in '81, when Australians began picking wearily through the post-party debris, re-examining discarded values. Even celibacy became a possibility, though Dorrie's prosperity suggests it might not catch on.
Now, this is quite a family business. Your husband, your daughter, your babysitter. Are you planning to hand it on to the next generation?
Yes. Yes, I would.
So you'll retire to a little cottage outside Liverpool?
No. I like Perth. I like Perth. I like to go back to Liverpool to see the rest of the family, but I don't think I could live there again.
Your present husband, Kim, is now your accountant, and he's a bit younger than you are.
Yeah, he's 21 years younger.
Now, what was his parents' reaction when they learned that he was going to marry you?
Not very good. They didn't like it at all. They didn't like the idea of the age gap. I had 2 daughters older than him. And then when they learned of who I was and what business I run, they just didn't like it at all.
You say that he was going to have a religious vocation.
That's right, yeah.
What was he going to do?
He had friends who were missionaries in Borneo, and it was his one ambition to go there. It's something he's always liked, always wanted to do. He asked me to give the business up to be a missionary with him.
You'd be a missionary?
Well, be a missionary's wife.
What a good idea. Did you consider it?
No way, I couldn't. I mean, could you see me in Borneo with wigs hanging outside a tent? No, I just couldn't see me as a missionary's wife. I just couldn't.
Kim Flatman was a boyish bank clerk 14 years ago when he met Dorrie and decided to be an accountant, not a missionary. He faced a lot of parental opposition when at 21 he married into a 3-brothel family, but now he looks after the double-entry bookkeeping for the toolbox, the Mama-San bistro, and all that.
You married a grandmother, 21 years older than you, running 3 brothels, and how could your parents possibly object?
Well, I mean, they couldn't object because I'd already made my mind up.
Now, how did they discover that she was running a brothel?
Well, I think when Mum wanted to have her hair done one time and she wanted to go to Dorrie's salon.
Hairdressing salon.
I said, well, look, Mum, you wouldn't get your hair done at her salon. It's not the kind of place. So I had to tell her. And
how did that go down?
Oh, it was a bit of a shock to the system at first.
In any event, your parents have had no difficulty in accepting the fact that your family income was coming partially from brothels.
My parents didn't, no, but the rest of the family did. My parents went through a very hard time. I had to get my parents' phone changed to a silent phone number because they were getting obscene phone calls and all kinds of problems at one stage. And then my brothers were, they were the ones that were then did all the mudslinging. And strangely enough, one of my brothers turned out to be a customer. So it was rather ironical one night when I turned up at the business to pick Dorrie up from work, only to find her throwing my brother out of the premises for being obnoxious and trouble causer.
Your father was in a Presbyterian orphanage. Your mother was in a Catholic convent. You were in a theological college. With this religious background, how did you reconcile such a background to living on immoral earnings?
It's a tough question to deal with. I've had to deal with it many times. I have quite a clear conscience about it. There are many people in the church that just simply refuse to accept that a person can be a Christian. But of course, so I've been brought up to think that a Christian is not, it's not what you do, it is what you believe. The important issue is whether you believe in Jesus Christ as your personal saviour. I mean, a lot of church people would sort of howl me down on that issue, but that is the only important issue, and your works are not going to save you.
It is anomalous, certainly. I mean, on one leg, you're a reputable accountant, and on the other leg, you're in a bordello.
Well, I think probably in Perth there's only been a women's industry, and my only involvement has been the fact that I've been the husband of a madam of a brothel.
But you're doing the accountancy for her, are you not? I mean, you're the brains behind it now, huh?
Well, I'm not really the brains behind it. I do all the accounting work and do all their reporting for the police department and the taxation department. I do all of that for them, but someone has to do that. I mean, there must be many other accountants in Perth that have people that maybe are bank robbers or murderers or whatever that still need an accountant to do their taxation work for them.
Do these girls get any tax breaks at all? Do they have tools of the trade, if you'll pardon the expression?
Yes, at one time the girls were paying a flat rate. Now they're subject to normal tax rates. And in fact, I put in some rather colourful tax returns this year for girls where we were claiming for things like condoms and lubricants and fishnet stockings and various other weird things that might be required by prostitutes, and we're mind-boggling.
I don't think I want to think about that. It's certainly it's a very disorderly house, Doris, I must say. But from your position within the business now, how does a missionary's life look to you?
Having worked alongside of Dorrie with her business, I can see where if I was adopting a missionary role, there is a missionary role right here in our own city.
But you're spreading quite another word today, aren't you? Not the good word.
I wouldn't exactly say that. Through my accounting practice, a lot of the girls have come to me for financial reasons to buy cars and get loans for houses and so forth. And when I have seen them here and they've been talking to me, that's when you get to talk with them about their financial needs, and then you get down to, you can peel off the surface and get behind them and find out what's inside that person. And inside they're really very lonely people, most of them. Because a lot of them are single ladies, they're deserted wives or whatever reason they're living alone and supporting children, and they are very needy people. And to me...
Not financially, if, as you say, they can earn $2,000 a week.
They're very well off financially. They've got all the trappings of life. They're better off than some of the average worker. But they...
some of the unaverage workers are better off.
But there's... all the trappings of life is not going to make up for that craving that you have inside. There's an emptiness in their lives that needs to be filled.
So you've become a sort of a husband confessor to them?
Well, I can help satisfy those needs. I can point them in the right direction.
One feels that a prostitute must have less love in her life than any other woman.
I would say it would be harder for them to genuinely love because they're used and abused so much.
Can I ring? Oh, come in. Oh, Bill, quick.
The using and abusing of these cheery girls starts each time a client arrives and the cash desk summons them for inspection. There are believed to be 320 prostitutes working in Perth, some 200 of them paying income tax in the 16 tolerated brothels protected by the police, if not by the law. They regard their work as just another job, but find the money is like a drug. Once used to large earnings, it becomes almost impossible to contemplate a straight job. Janet's now been a prostitute for 10 years.
Well, it might sound a little bit ludicrous, but I was at university at the time, and I needed money. Didn't get much from the government a few years back, 10 years back, and more or less as a joke, I went along to what turned out to be a straight massage parlour, as in straight massages. And that's how I started out. And then I met a few people there, a few of the girls who suggested to me that I could make more money. Unfortunately, my studies went by the wayside.
This is it, full time?
Here I am, full time.
10 years? How long have you been with...
Over a period of.
In and out?
Well, they've got to be 21 to work here, but they all look young.
How about some of the girls who are very popular and some of the girls who are less popular? There must be a lot of jealousy.
Sometimes they can be. It depends on the type of personality, again, of the girls involved. I just take it and leave it. Like, naturally, I might be making a bit less now than, say, when I was first started 10 years ago. You've just got to accept, you know, one day may be less, as we're paid on a daily basis.
That was the bell that normally calls you in there to be inspected by the clients. When you go in and you're inspected, if you're not chosen, do you feel humiliated by that?
No, not at all.
Or relieved?
Depends on the person again. Quite often it's relief, yes.
Yes.
It depends. You've got to have a detachment and yet a personal, you've got to develop a personal contact. Because a lot of the people, they vary from day to night too. A lot of
yes.
clients. I find of the daytime there's a lot want just sheer companionship.
Really?
It might sound very corny, but it's very true too.
Whereas at night?
Whereas at night there's more groups of younger men coming in.
They want more action?
Well, if they're capable, yes.
And a lot are not?
Well, a lot of them have been out on the town for the night. It's a bit of a giggle to go into one of these places,
yes.
that kind of thing.
Hi, Dorrie. Who's in tonight?
There's Sky, Lee, Shane, Sasha, Angie, JJ, Donna and Kathy.
Wow, I'll be down later on then.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Absolutely, honestly, if you're talking about the sex, you'd have 1% where you have a good time. The rest of the time, 90% you'd have okay. You get along okay, but it's no sexual sensation for yourself. And 10% is the pure hassle. Financially, so long as you bank your money, yes, you can be fine. You are tempted to start buying more expensive things. Like instead of buying a $100 dress or $150 dress, you'll go out and buy a $500 dress. You can do silly things like that. Buy expensive jewellery, furniture, things like that. No. I don't think that it makes a wonderful life. It can make a very good life for a divorced woman with children. But I'm not here for sex, I'm here for money. Not very many men can separate that. Also, there are so many old wives' tales about what we're like that it's very hard for men to separate those old fantasies with the reality.
So what is the reality? What are you like?
We're the same as everybody else. We're no different. We're just the same as the girl next door or the girl who works in the office next door.
But you're doing a very unusual job, really. I know it's the oldest profession, but nevertheless...
It's also the hardest profession, yes. Well, you're part psychologist, part sex surrogate, part shoulder to cry on, part mistress, part everything. But that can only make you a better person. You can't do badly by it.
So how do you see what's going to happen to you in the future?
How can I say? No one can predict too much on that. I hope that I will be retiring in a couple of years, all going well, and then I'll be settling down and having children. Living in the suburbs, the same as everybody else. The 3-bed brick bung as the Australian ideal is meant to be.
Back in the straight world?
Mm-hmm. Well, I live in the straight world when I'm not at work. You know, my fiancé does a normal straight job. We don't advertise what I do for a living because his employers would probably ask him to get rid of me. Only because I'm an embarrassment.
What about the straight world outside? How do you think you're seen by your neighbours, for example?
Well, by my neighbours, no one knows about it. I have a few friends who know about it. I was very naive at first and had no hang-ups about telling anyone about it, but now I've grown up a little bit and find it's not wise to tell everyone what I do. Pick and choose.
Yet you're laughing all the way to the bank, I suppose. That's
the theory.
But I mean, will you ever make enough money to give it up, or wouldn't you want to give it up?
Oh yes, definitely. I think every girl that works in this kind of line has a goal. If you've got a goal, my goal is to get a house, a bit of land, and have that little bit extra in the bank. It's, you know, it's nothing in particular, you know? It's nothing tremendously outlandish, and I think that's what most of the girls' goals are, is just to be secure enough not to have to work your whole life.
Across the road from Dorrie's main house, her oldest daughter manages a second brothel, its entrance discreetly screened from the main road. Her sitter, as they call a woman who manages a brothel, the sitter at her third house in Fremantle is an abandoned wife who, back in Liverpool, had been her babysitter. The retention of its old name causes some confusion among Bridie McFarrell's intending customers.
It does sometimes on the phone when they ring me up and ask me what time's the aerobic lessons or aerobic classes and how heavy the weights are. And I have to tell them that it's not that sort of fitness club.
These are health freaks ready to flex their muscles. They get a bit more than they bargained
Wrong
for.
exercises.
Now, how is it you stopped looking after a newsagent and started looking after a brothel?
Oh, well, I had sort of sadness in my life and I needed to go to work.
Sadness, which was?
My husband left me.
Uh-huh.
And I needed to go to work, and my age, you just can't get work these days. And Dorrie offered me this job as a sitter, and I had to survive. My children would have helped, but they've got their lives and families to look after.
And is it a job you like now?
I love it now, yes. I love it.
Why?
It's a different life. Yeah, you see real people, and the girls are wonderful people.
Yes. And some of the girls do double shifts.
Yes.
I mean, that must be the most exhausting, boring job I've ever thought, sitting around there waiting for clients. What do they do all day?
We read, watch TV, we have puzzles, we even play charades. Yeah, and the phone interrupts, and
yes.
We make our own fun, you know. It does get boring sometimes, though.
The idea of playing charades in a whorehouse, I mean, is... Do you model yourself on Dorrie?
I try to, yes.
So she helps control Dorrie's happy horde of harlots who are protected from the parasitical pimp by the policy of semi-legal prostitution, which also keeps organised crime out of these tranquil, flourishing brothels. I went to the headquarters of the Western Australian Police to find out about their system of tolerance from their chief, Commissioner Brian Bull.
Yes, simply we have these premises, the 16 premises within the metropolitan area, where we tolerate their existence, providing they follow certain rules. And those rules are that there will be no drugs within the area, there will be no females underage, and most certainly the women must, of course, follow certain health standards, and they must, very importantly, not have men involved in the operation of the brothel. And that, of course, successfully keeps organised crime out of the brothels. Oh, I'm sure that those operating within the contained area would be quite satisfied with their lot.
Of course, because you're really protecting their monopoly.
That's right. Yes, I see. If you put it that way, yes. We're certainly protecting them from organised crime. We're protecting them from the normal ills of prostitution. We're keeping the industry clean.
What about the good burghers of Perth? Do they all approve of this system?
Well, I suppose there are some people, and I think mainly through not understanding it, I suppose it is difficult to understand that the police are tolerating something that is unlawful. One would tend to think, well, there must be corruption associated with anything that is unlawful, yet it's allowed to exist. But because this is out in the open, because it has the blessing of the Commissioner of Police, government are aware that it's occurring, there is no need for corruption. As Commissioner, I must deploy my personnel on a need basis, and with a rising crime rate, I've got to be more concerned about putting officers into that field rather than acting against prostitutes who aren't really causing us a great deal of problem. They are controlled. They are abiding by the laws, or the rules that we set.
Yes, not the law. Do any other states follow your containment principle?
No, we are the only state.
But if it's so satisfactory, why hasn't it been imitated by other states?
Well, I don't know. Various states have looked at it. They have tried other systems, which we don't believe work. We're willing to look at any other system, but we must not lose control.
Yet you see, I mean, let's take someone like Dorrie Flatman. She's liable, upon conviction of running a brothel, to hard labour for 3 years, I gather, if you decided.
If you proceeded against a person, yes. That's under the criminal code. We generally proceed under the Police Act.
So, I mean, that sword of Damocles is hanging over her all the time.
Oh, yes, it still is against the law, and we do proceed against, as I said, some madams or prostitutes who do not comply with the simple rules.
Now, in all these years living on the fringes of the law, have you never been in trouble with the police yourself? You've been in court, you've been in jail?
I've never been in jail, but I've been pinched 3 times.
And what happened?
I was fined.
How much?
Went to court. $200 the first time, then $100 on each other occasion.
Well, you earned that in about half an hour, so that didn't worry you much.
Oh, we just came straight back to work.
For feminists, you must be the quintessential hate figure here.
Oh, yeah. They find out where the houses are, and then they do all this graffiti and writing on the wall and all the rest of it. And sometimes they can be quite scary, so you close your doors.
What graffiti do they scroll on your place?
Yes, we have aids, you know, outside the front door. Come in here for herpes and all that kind of stuff. Huh.
How about AIDS, incidentally? I mean, are you not concerned about that? Are the girls not worrying?
They were at first until one of the ladies from the clinic came up and explained it all to them. And they explain about safe sex, so we use condoms. And they say that's about the safest you can do.
Normally, the more AIDS are explained to people, the more worrying it becomes.
Only if they don't understand it. You've got to use condoms for safe sex, all right, so you can get the odd one that might break, but it's lessening the chance of catching AIDS.
Still not 100% security,
No, it's still not 100%.
What about business here, Dorrie? How do the test matches, the America's Cup, the Pope's visit, how do these things affect your business?
Well, if we were on the route what the Pope would take, I'd be inclined to close that day.
Because you're a Catholic, is this, or because it wouldn't be a good day for business?
Not just because I'm a Catholic, but you've got to show a little bit of respect. If you're on the route where the Queen comes through or something, you show a bit of respect. So, you know, he's the same, you know, why not show a bit of respect?
Of all the nationalities you cater for here, Dorrie, who do you find are your most troublesome clients?
In the past, we found that the Macedonians have been the worst because they tend to treat their women a bit rough.
Really? What? I don't even know what the Macedonians are. What are they doing here?
I think the Greek, they're on the border somewhere, but they're very aggressive people. If they pay for something, they think they own you, that kind of thing. They don't wait to see what a girl is like. They go in there, you know, aggressive. You do what I want, I've bought you, sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
And they're very, very rough in the room.
That's not because they're drinking and that sort of thing.
No,
it's just
this is their personality.
That's the way they are.
This is their way.
Is there anything that you wouldn't allow here among the clients? Is there anything you wouldn't let them do or pay for or buy?
We won't let the client be rough with a girl. If a girl comes down and says, I don't want to see him again, he's really, really bad, he won't get through the door again.
And yet you go in for bondage here and that sort of sadomasochism.
Yeah, but that's when the guy wants it and he's paying for it. That's his kick and that's what he wants. That's why he's coming to a brothel, because he couldn't get it at home.
So, I mean, if he pays for it, he can have anything, that's what you're saying.
That's right.
But there can't be many girls who'll put up with that.
There isn't. It's very hard to get a disciplined mistress, a proper disciplined mistress. You get the girls that will do a slight discipline, a slap or humiliation, as they call it. But they just can't cop the discipline, the heavy discipline.
I don't, do they have to be, does it help if they're lesbian and they really hate men?
It does help. It does help, because then they can put all the aggressiveness there.
Mm.
But then I think they can go a bit too far. We did have one girl that, you know, I had to let her go because she was too aggressive.
The guys had to be carried out on stretchers, did they?
Well, I wasn't very happy because, I mean, you don't know what damage you can do. If they just lay into somebody, you know, I'd be frightened.
So what makes a good madam?
I don't really know.
I mean, you were never on the game yourself.
No. You've got to understand the girls. You've got to be, you've got to be a mother to them. They come to you with their problems, and you've got to be able to listen to them. And not be hard on them, you know. You can't say to them, look, you've got to work these hours, or you're out and all the rest of it. You've got to understand. You've got to understand what kind of work they're doing and what they go through. It's not easy. It's not an easy job.
It's the most distasteful job in the world.
Yeah. You get a lot of people turn around and say, oh, well, it's easy money. It's far from easy money.
After all these years observing human nature, perhaps at its most debased, does anything at all shock you today?
Not anymore, no.
Nothing?
Nothing.
That's a pity, actually.
I don't think there's anything left to shock me, you know. You hear us all when you're in here.
Now, your husband, your daughters, your sister-in-law, your ex-babysitter, everybody's working for you. It's a real family business, this.
Well, you more or less give people the jobs that you know because you've got to have people you can trust.
You see, you're living a suburban, ordinary life. You're fetching your grandchildren from ballet school. You're going to charity functions. Yet you're doing a very unordinary job that would, in fact, shock most people.
Going back a few years, I think it would, but I think it's getting more accepted. No one seems to bat an eyelid anymore when you mention the word brothel, you know.
So, Dorrie, this is all part of the wages of sin, right?
Yeah.
So, apart from the house and the clothes, where does it all go?
Property, holidays.
You're following your own advice, are you? You tell your girls to buy property and you're buying property yourself.
Yes.
It is a most rewarding business.
It is a rewarding business, and the taxman gets quite a big chunk of that.
Luckily, you've got a good accountant to hand.
Yes. Excuse me, that'll be Mum. Hello, Mum.
Dorrie's mum, Kitty Jackson, 83 and just out from Liverpool, comes to join a serene Sunday scene that's repeated in millions of ordinary homes around the world.
It's just not true.
In Dorrie's dynasty, there's no sense of embarrassment or defiance at the contempt people outside this family group might feel for the way the Flatman fortunes are earned. Selling such services to consenting adults may not make Dorrie a public enemy, but then, of course, it also doesn't make her a social worker.
See, your daughters all married husbands from the straight world outside, and yet they've all blended in.
Yeah.
Nobody's objected. Nobody's said, I wouldn't marry the daughter of a madam, or I wouldn't marry somebody who works in a whorehouse.
No, I haven't had anybody say that yet.
Do you think any of them find the business at all distasteful?
No, not at all.
Well, what about your grandchildren? I mean, do you think some of them might wish that Gran had another occupation?
My oldest grandson is now 22. He has come to the house on occasions to pick me up and give me a lift home. Anything his grandma does is all right by him.